Okay, this is going to be the Randy Rhoads field trip around Burbank field trip one more time. Last time I did it, I made the horrifying mistake of having Ozzy, not Ozzy, but Randy Rhoads Ozzy music playing and some Quiet Riot. Very little Quiet Riot. I didn't really like Quiet Riot, to tell you the truth. The music. And Kevin Dubrow. Sorry, Kevin. Rest in peace. Blah, blah, blah. Very nice guy, but he really was a nice guy. I mean, Randy wouldn't be in a band with a jerk. The only guy that was out of control was Kelly Garney, and he didn't last long. Drew Forsythe, the drummer, very nice. Kevin was nice. He just had that thing. He had a big mouth, and that was a lot of it was drugs. It was cocaine. So here we are, Amherst Drive and Bel Air in Burbank, turning down. So if you come to see his house, this is it right here. I'm not going to tell you the address, but his mom cannot have visitors. She's 92 years old. She can't even walk. She doesn't know that many people anymore. But that's his house. That's where Randy Rhoads grew up. That's where Quiet Riot rehearsed. Ozzy's been here. There's the ramp for Mrs. Rhoads to get up and down. Dolores. But she's in constant care now. The house has really gone down. So that's it. Take a good look, because when they sell that, probably within the next year, that's it. The Randy Rhoads legacy, where he grew up and everything, is going to be gone. So that kind of sucks. So if you're out in California, get your butt over to Burbank and get over to Amherst. There's a main street here called Olive. If you go over to Olive, head west, I guess, and you'll pass Cypress. That's where I lived. And then about 4 or 5 more blocks, you go down, and boom, you're on Amherst. And then you just below Bel Air on Amherst. And where I grew up is just below Bel Air on Cypress. Now right here, this is just down 1 block, and we're going over 1 block. And here's John Muir Junior High. This is where Randy Rhoads went to junior high school. And I guess he played a few little things here, and I think in his band, one of his little bands played here. But it's not that video that I have. I know that. I figured out that was a Valley College, and I found out the guy who shot it, and blah, blah, blah. So this is John Muir Junior High. That's where Randy Rhoads went to junior high school, and where I went to junior high school. You need to know that, rock legend Michael D. and Randy Rhoads went there. Okay, that's enough of me. Now, of course, you've all seen the video. If you haven't, go over to it now. Type in Randy Rhoads and I. Randy Rhoads and I. Like me. I as in me. It's a outtake of a interview I was doing for this stupid documentary that guy totally destroyed. And now he's taken the documentary and he's trying to he made a book out of it. And he's charging like $150 a pop for this piece of crap book. The cover looks cool. It's that cover where Randy's kind of standing there with the V, the polka dot V around his neck, and he's hanging around his neck, and he's got a cigarette. And that book, it's the idiot that did the documentary that the Rhoads family said if that thing ever sees the light of day, they will sue him till he doesn't even know what his name is. And the guy's an idiot. Peter something or other. I can't remember his name. He's a beep. So I wouldn't buy the book unless you get it free or discount or steal it. No, don't steal. Don't steal. But, I wouldn't pay $150 for it, I'll tell you that, because there's nothing in there that hasn't already been out. There might be a few little, tidbits, but there's nothing. Everything that could be out is out. I mean, there's already a guy that's, got his website with Randy's drawings, during a lesson. and there's tapes of him giving lessons, and so I'm not going to put any of my stuff up. The only stuff that I got that no one's got are those pictures. His high school picture from when he was in continuation and they were tearing down the buildings, and I ran over there and took the file. I mean, they were just running over with a bulldozer the buildings, the files, the cabinets with the files in it, everything. So I took off across the street during lunch when I was in Burbank High and looked through the files, found that, and Randy's file was already destroyed, but I could see, you know, the name Randy Rhodes and that picture that you have seen. If you go to Randy Rhodes and I video, that's the picture I got up, that black and white with a little mustache. And Kathy, his sister, says that's the only known picture that she knows of Randy with a mustache, and she said he was probably 17 when they took that. So, and that sounds right, because he wanted to graduate early and give lessons. Now I'm going up to, this is the Bell Golf Course in Burbank. Over here is Starlight Bowl. Now I don't think Quiet Riot ever played the Starlight Bowl, but I did see, what was it, White Sister, Malice, Pandemonium, and some other show up here in the summer of '85, because I was with my first wife, and it was called like the Metal Madness something Metal Madness thing, and it was cool. I mean, Malice, oh, Rough Cut was the headliner. It was like White Sister and Rough Cut were the headline, and Malice. They were all huge bands. I mean, this place was packed. I mean, the line went all the way down the hill, all the way down here, and we had to walk all the way up into here. But what I'm going to show you here, if any of you know your Quiet Riot history, and there's these pictures where like the band is sitting in these circle, like these brick circle things. Well, this is the brick circle thing. It's up here in the park. This is the Bell Starlight Park. It's actually over there. I'm gonna have to get out and show you. But this is the brick thing that they're all sitting in, and I think one's got Randy in it. But I'll show you real quick. There's someone here who's having a picnic. Don't want to disturb them. So as long as they don't get too loud, they won't have to worry about it. This circle is the actual circle that they took these pictures in. Right here. Now go dig through your Quiet Riot pictures and all that and their promo stuff. This is the circle that they took the pictures in, Randy Rhodes. And he would come up here and play. Over here, there wasn't any trees 30 years ago. Or 40 years ago. Everybody would come up here. This is like the makeout point of Burbank. So this is all clear, and everybody would just park up here and, you know, drink and do whatever. And sometimes Randy would come up here, and this was a little park too. And they would play like acoustic stuff, and he'd play his guitar and blah blah blah. And so this is where Randy would come up to a lot and play his guitar, and that's where everybody would hang out and stuff. This is a Starlight Bowl in Burbank. So that's your this is your third on the Randy Rhoads field trip. Now I'm gonna probably shut this off, and I'll turn it on when we get down to Burbank High. How many minutes we got going? We got 9 minutes. Let's see if we can go a little longer. The thing, I'm just going to keep it in Burbank. We'll go to Burbank High, and then we'll go to Randy's sister's place where she's got a wine tasting room, and you can go there and taste wine. I hear it's very good. I haven't drank in 14 years, so it wouldn't be a good idea for me to go there and hang. I've gone there and hung out. Last year she had something where she had all of Randy's guitars and his amps. Everything was set up there, and then a life-size cutout where you could stand next to it, and it was like life-size cutout of him is one of the known pictures. If you go to my Facebook, Michael Douglas Skews, S-K-E-W-E-S, go to that Facebook, click on my photos, go into the different photo albums, and you'll see a Randy Rhoads. There's like a picture of Randy Rhoads. Go there and you'll see pictures of that night. I took pictures of all the guitars that were there, the amps, his clothes, the blue pants and the polka dot vest, his shoes. I mean, they looked like they were for a little girl. And I remember the guy was like super teeny. I mean, I didn't think he was that small. I knew I was taller than him. I mean, by the time I was in 9th grade, I was 6 foot. And now I'm 6'4". So when I was taking lessons from him, I was, let's see, what was I, 18? Or when I knew him, when I would see him around, I was 17 or 18? So I was, you know, a little more than 6 foot, like 6'2". Because I didn't stop growing until after school. I topped out at 6'3½", and then when I got in my accident and they put my hip in, I gained another ½ inch. So now at, you know, in my 40s, I'm 6'4". So now we're going down to Burbank High School. That's where he went for a little bit. And then right across the street where there's a Office Depot was the continuation classrooms. They're just like bungalows. Remember that word, bungalow? Very funny word to me. Just sounds like a bungalow. Alright, so we're going to just go straight down this street, Walnut, and we're going to hit Burbank High. And that's where he went to high school. This might be just one take. If I can get his sisters and get to his sisters over on, what is she on, Burbank High? Or Burbank Boulevard or Magnolia, I can't remember. Might be able to get one shot if I can do it in less than 30 minutes. But let's see, yeah, so yeah, remember, Peter Margolis or whatever, don't buy that book. It's got nothing new in it. You're just gonna have another Randy Rhoads, you know, regurgitated Randy Rhoads stuff. He really didn't do anything, and the family was so pissed off because they worked with this guy for years. And I talked to him a couple times, and he is a dip crap. One time, I mean, I don't know, because the guy that was doing the camera work and that shot the interview with me, he was so full of crap, his eyes were brown. And this guy was a nutcase. He used to work with me for a few months until, you know, the place just couldn't take him anymore. You know, because I worked in film, and I worked with film, and you know, where you have to touch 35mm, 16mm film, whatever, negative. Well, this guy was a, you know, product of the 60s, and I think he did a little too much drugs, and he could swear that he could taste the film with his hands. So he had to order, just for this guy, he was just a trainee, but we had to order special gloves for this idiot, so, you know, he wouldn't taste the film. Not so anything to protect him or the film, it was just so he wouldn't taste the film with his hands. That's how crazy he was. So that's the guy that shot that thing for me, and he talked with that Peter guy, and he said he was a doof. And then when I talked to him, he was a complete idiot. And then when I talked to the Rhodes family, they said they couldn't stand the guy, and that the documentary's not going to happen because it's the worst piece of crap they've ever seen. They said it will not see the light of day, and if it does, they'll sue the crap out of him. So what does he do? He gets together and writes a book, and so they're suing the crap out of him there. In fact, I just saw him in court about that last Wednesday in Burbank Court. So this is Burbank High, and it looks, except for that tall thing, which is a theater, this looks nothing at all like the Burbank High that I went to or Randy Rhoads went to. But just so you know, this is Burbank High. Then we'll swing by where continuation was, well, actually, well, I was going to go by the Lutheran church where the funeral was. We'll do that. We'll cut. We'll do. This is Burbank High still. This is all for the nice Armenian kids that go to school here and tear it apart and act like Armenian gangstas in their BMWs and Mercedes, and they're going. Okay, right here where that I get caught up in some Office Depot. I have nothing against Armenians. I love their women and food. Where that Office Depot is where the continuation classes where Randy went to get his degree, his GED, and then he popped out of school with the diploma. And you know, that was the thing. His mom said, you have to have a diploma. You have to graduate. You can't just drop out. So he got his diploma, or that used to be continuation, and started teaching full-time at Musonia. Now, we did Musonia last time. We went out there, and then I think Doug, or whatever, Kelly you want to call him, Randy's brother, his older brother, was there, and I started talking to him. Maybe we'll go out there today. I don't know if he's going to be there or not, but we'll see. I'll just drive out. I'll show you where his sister's wine place is and get the name for you. But that's a good place to stop by. You can say hi to his sister. She's there, Kathy Rhodes. She's very nice. You can see Randy a little in them. I mean, when you look at Kelly or Doug Rhodes, or whatever you want to call him, his older brother, you see, well, that's like a jacked up looking Steven Tyler friggin' thing. There's nothing about Randy, but you can see his mom a little bit. Then you can see his mom and Randy. But Randy was like a different person. He was not, you know, he wasn't an angel. Believe me, I saw him hanging upside down on a tree limb outside a club one night, you know, screaming. And I'm sure that wasn't just because he was happy or something, or in love. It could be, but I'm sure you get crazy sometimes. And I heard he did some crazy stuff with Ozzy. Nothing compared to Ozzy. Ozzy was just mentally disturbed. He was jacked up. He had weird things happening to him when he was a kid. It all came out in drugs and alcohol and craziness. I mean, the stuff Ozzy was doing, the top Motley Crue and those stories. I don't know if you've ever. This is what I just bought. This God Bless Ozzy Osbourne. It's a documentary about Ozzy by his son, Jack. It's kind of to counter all the crazy things, you know. Well, I come off still thinking Ozzy's nuttier than a loon. And, you know, it did nothing to help his image, I don't think. I still think because my ex-wife used to fly. She was, worked for Millionaire and a couple other places that do, you know, private jets, those Lear jets. And she, you know, when they hire the jet, they can also, you know, request a special, if they like a person to be their, it's not a flight attendant. And the guy on Wheel of Fortune, whatever his name is, and the Osbournes and a couple other people always requested my ex-wife, Sherry. They loved her. And so when they go to Hawaii, she decorate the plane like, you know, Hawaiian stuff. And they would have, this is the winery. Our tasting right there. That's Randy's sister's and her husband's wine tasting facility. And it's cool. She's got some Randy stuff. You can buy the Randy Rhodes wine. She's still got that. I mean, they got jugs of that stuff you can buy for like $100 or something like that. I bought one little bottle. Unfortunately, it didn't have any, you know, non-alcoholic. Like I got the Kiss wine, the alcohol and non-alcohol. But this one was $50 for alcohol, regular old wine. And then the label is like the harpoon thing and the guitar. Well, and also there's another thing. I've given in, and I'm having friggin' Sandoval make me another guitar, because everybody keeps going, dude, you gotta get a Sandoval, blah, blah, blah. And I keep telling them, listen, when Sandoval made that guitar, I knew Randy, and I was taking lessons. So if I walk in with a friggin' Sandoval polka dot V, because there was another guy in town, God rest his soul, he was in another band. He was like a contemporary of Randy's. His name was, whatchamacallit. He was in White Sister, and his name, it was, I can't remember right now. I don't know why I can't remember, because I love the guy. He was so nice. He was cool, but he went to Sandoval and said, I want the exact same thing. I want 2 of them, and instead of polka dots, I want stars. That actually looked really cool, and I'm thinking, I'm going to get that done instead of the polka dots. But then I came up with my white with bullet holes, which I thought was totally cool. And that, even Sandoval said, you know, that's better than friggin' polka dots. He says, I thought that was corny. But it was Randy's trademark. And then it wasn't his trademark. When he was in Ozzy, just his friggin' playing and the way he was, the polka dots were out. So who cares what his guitar had? You know, he designed the Concorde, which evolved into the Randy Rhoads model Jackson. And there was no Jackson guitar. It was all Charvel, Wayne Jackson, or Grover. Was it Wayne Jackson? Wayne, Charvel, Grover Jackson. Grover Jackson. And Randy drew out the shape for the Concorde. He cut it out of that piece of wood and made that guitar, that first white one, out of a drawing that he made with like himself and I think Kevin Dubrow and somebody else was there. They made Kelly Garney or somebody, I don't know, Rudy Sarzo, I don't know who the hell it was, but I'm pretty sure Dubrow went with him. Anyways, I've decided, so, you know, that whole thing, whatever. I've decided I'm going to get a stupid polka dot V from Sandoval. I know it's going to be the same crap. You know, and it's not going to be as good or good playing as the Jackson polka dot V, which I got the third one made, third Jackson, that one they made in 97. They did a run of like 100. I got the third one. And it's autographed by Dolores. I took it to her. This is when she was still giving lessons, and we sat down and talked about Randy a little bit, and she signed it. And then I went over and had Ozzy sign it a few years later, which is another stupid story. And you know, gosh, it just seems like yesterday, and now she's 92, and she looked straight at me last week and didn't know who I was. But of course, Doug / Kelly Rhodes looked at me, "Oh, excuse, what are you doing?" Ugh, almost like someone with, what do you call it, Tourette's. So I'm just yapping, man. This is like 23 minutes now. You've already seen Randy's house, 2 schools he's went to, where he used to hang out and play acoustic and hang out with his friends, and his sister's wine tasting place. Now we're going to Musonia. I'm going to cut off in a minute just to let some battery, so I got some battery in case, you know, he's there or somebody's there. And then we'll head over to the church, and that'll be it for the Randy Rhoads field trip. Because now we're not even in Burbank anymore. We're in North Hollywood. The Musonia was in North Hollywood, kind of off Oxnard and Lancashire, I think it is. We'll find out. I'll get up here and find out. Alright. So here we go. Oh, so anyways, yeah. So I'm gonna get a Sandoval. I can get it cheap. I called him up. I talked to him. He remembers who I am. I mean, I had so many people work on that friggin' guitar. The last guy that worked on it, that actually did the paint job, was Mike Lippy, and he worked at Clean Music, and I worked at Clean Music, and he was the one that did a lot of the work on that guitar for me. And then there was another little guy, I can't remember his name, he's an old man, and he did all the electronics. When I'd have problems with that, with my guitars, I'd take it to him. He was great. But I was the first one I had on it was a Mighty Mite body Star. It's basically a Explorer with a cutout like Randy's thing, but an Explorer body. It's not an ML like dime bag, but you know, it's like an Explorer body, and then someone cuts out like a V, like that whatchamacallit, Eddie Van Halen did with that Destroyer, that Ibanez Destroyer. He cut, but not that ugly. Just go to my website, you'll see the pictures. You've seen that shape before. But yeah, my first one, I asked Randy, what do you have in your guitars? He goes, well, in my at first he was gonna have 2 PAFs put in his V, and I think when he got it, there were 2 PAFs, and he realized that's not enough power for crap. And then he was still using Ampeg amps, which are junk unless you're a bass player. So he had a super distortion put in it, and then boom, you know, he was really soon after that V happened, he was in Aussie. He realized Quiet Riot's second album out, it ain't going anywhere. Slick Black Cadillac was like their single, and it got pretty good rotation on stations here on one. The station was actually K-Rock, but it wasn't called K-Rock at the time, and I think it was called K-West 909, what is it, 106.7 KWST. Now it's 106.7 KROQ. But yeah, they used to play, before K-Rock, it was K-West, and they played Slick Black Cadillac and all that crap. It just didn't take off. KLOS played it. What was it? KMET was another station. Just wasn't getting to do it. It didn't have enough push over here, and it wasn't that good. It was like bad pop rock, and you know, like bad Bay City rollers that want to be a little heavier, and it just wasn't working. You know, they didn't have that image. The only one pretty enough for the image was, you know, Randy and Rudy Sarzo, that is. And you know, then the other, you know, Drew, he's a drummer, whatever. And all that stuff that Kevin or anybody said about Drew is untrue. He is a good drummer. He's a great drummer. In fact, when he said, you know, Kevin said he didn't have good timing and all this bull crap. I've got demos or just bootlegs that I made of his band when he was in a band with the other guitar teacher I had. It was actually Randy's best student, Craig Collins Turner. When he was teaching, I went back and took lessons from him for about a year. And we were like more buddies than anything else. And he came over, you know, Drew and Craig came over and saw my son when he was born. And I was a father at 18 or 19, whatever it was. They're just like, oh man, dude, what are you doing? But, you know, they were cool. They were at all my shows. And I played out in Troubadour and Roxy and all that crap. Troubadour I remember the most. Alright, what are we coming up on here? We're at... Gosh, everything looks so different. This is still Oxnard. Oh, there's the freeway up there. Okay, I'm going to cut it off because we're going up to a half hour now. And I'll put it back on when we hit Musonia. Signing off on the Randy Rhoads Field Trip, first, part 1.